Now, okay. So, good evening, everyone. I am Heidi Ferguson, and next to me is Fidesta Ramsey, and this is Fierce Honest Hearts. It's been a few weeks, so I kind of had to get back in the groove of technology and whatnot, and doing this and recording, and had a little mishap, and that's just part of life. So here we are. And in our summer colors, in our summer attire. And yeah, I typically go first. Do you want to do a check-in first, or do you want me to go? I'm okay either way.
It'd be great so I can finish the tech.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. So we haven't been on here we skipped 2 weeks. And, one of the things I'm really feeling a lot of deep gratitude for is how we really do a good job taking care of each other. If you need a break, if I need a break, we are not married to this. We're committed to it, but we're not like, there's no wiggle room. I like that there's wiggle room. And so I first just kind of wanted to name that because I guess it was 2 weeks ago or whatever, when I needed a break, you needed a break last week. And I'm like, yes, let's just honor that, because I think it shows those who are watching, our audience, the importance of self-care. Instead of trying to push through what's hard, and if we're overwhelmed or overextended, whatever, life's just too short, people. It just is. So my check-in, that was part of my check-in. So my check-in, I shared with Fidesta before we got on the call that this heat really affects me. It affects me physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I'm in Philadelphia, for those who might not know that. And on the East Coast, we've been having some really challenging summers. And right now, this is early for us to be hitting upper 80s, 90s, mid 90s, and we've had several days of that. And so part of me is, I'm aggravated. I'm like, why already? Like, can't we just wait till July to have this hot weather? And the other part of me is kind of angry about the people who have and continue to ignore climate change. Because this is humans. We're humans. We've done this to ourselves. I don't know that it's being reversed at all. To me, it doesn't feel like it's being reversed. But yeah, I'm disappointed in, I want to say, mankind for this. I'm disappointed. Yeah, I think that's where, and my ACs are running a lot, because I live on the 3rd floor, and without it, it would be easily, on a day like today, it's probably 92 in my apartment. So for survival purposes, I have to have it on. This is not my real background. I'm not in the Rockies, even though I would love to be, because the snow, just the sun and the snow and the green, the balance just looks lovely. In any event, that's not my reality. But so that's where I am.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming in with that. And thank you for, right before our call, just sort of sharing where you were at when I was like, something feels different and I don't know what it is. And just our ability, both, as you said, to care for each other and support us caring for ourselves, right? And then also the place where we can sort of take a moment and check in and make sure that this is the best use of our time in case, right, one of us is tired or it's just not feeling good some days. Yeah, I love when you said, like, we're committed to this, but we're not married to it. Right? That I had a little bit of an exhale, like, yeah, like, we're devoted. This is something that's important to us, but it doesn't supersede us taking care of ourselves. And I feel you on the heat. It's nice enough here because we're closer to the water that the windows are open and stuff. But yesterday I was in the city, in New York City, delightfully visiting with two amazing friends I haven't seen in forever. One had flown in from LA for a film shoot. One had flown in from Germany to take care of some stuff here in the city, like also see friends, you know, in the city. And so I was in the delight and joy of that, and how good it is to be with people in real life. I'm so grateful for Zoom and all that it's allowed. I mean, my whole coaching practice is built on Zoom at this point because, you know, it was the pandemic and stuff. But I receive so much from sitting across the table from someone I love and having a cup of tea. You know what I mean? And I notice I'm more animated, right? Like the Zoom, there's almost like a layer missing. That in person, when I'm like looking at someone, I'm a little bigger and louder with my body and my expressiveness. And it was 96 and sunny and humid, right? And I haven't gotten my spring haircut. I just have been delinquent. So my hair is big and like in a ponytail, it's like, you know, it's a lot of hair. So today I feel tired, like we're in a little bit of recovery, not a ton, but enough of like, there was joy and there was a lot of movement. I probably walked like 20,000 steps because it's the city, not literally steps, you know, up, but walking steps. So it's like the city cleaned me out, right? Like it got me sweating and all that stuff. And today I was like, why am I tired? And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't normally hang outside when it's 95 or 96. So I feel you there, right? I wilt a little in that. Sorry, I saw smoke coming up the balcony, but I forgot the neighbor had put a barbecue there this week. I was like, that doesn't look good. So yeah, just what I heard you say, and I'm with you, is like the anticipation of months of this. And then the memory that my body does adjust somewhat, that it's kind of clunky at the beginning, you know? So yeah, so that's my check-in for now. It's just the reconnecting time is like just worth millions of bucks to me. Yeah.
I'm really, I'm feeling a little bit envious that you know, I feel, I'm just like, oh, what a gift that you created with your friends to be together yesterday. I mean, you know, and to not have seen them for such a long time, and
Yeah.
How special.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's so easy when people come in town, everyone can make excuses like, oh, I'm really busy, I can't make it, or, oh, I'm, you know, 30 minutes north of the city and blah, blah, blah. And I think there's certain friends where it's like, it's an excuse-free zone. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna see each
Right.
other. And so also feeling into that level of commitment with each other
Yeah.
felt really good. Yeah. And I love the city. You know, I lived in the city. I love it more now that I don't. Like I don't feel held
Yeah.
hostage
Yeah.
by it. But I remember the part of me that walked those streets and went to the jazz clubs and ate at those restaurants and got to be like the city girl, you know. So it's sweet to connect to that too.
Yeah.
And so much has changed in really beautiful ways that it was cool. It was a cool catching up with myself too.
Interesting,
Have
right?
you ever had that?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I mean, I'm just in this time of COVID in the last 2.5 years, I think I've driven into the city twice and had that kind of like, oh my gosh, right? Like I'm driving into the city and like the excitement of that, and then being in the traffic, which I really do almost anything to avoid traffic. Like I'll take side roads and other routes and whatnot. But there was something that as I was planning, like I knew that I had this thing that I needed to do and whatnot. And I was thinking about, okay, I could take this road, or I could just get on 76, the highway. And I was like, let's just do it. let's just sit, let's just be in the traffic. And it's not like I enjoy sitting in traffic, but I was just to have that feeling of, oh yes, this is what it's like to drive with all these people, you know, and to be kind of in the midst of it. Again, glad that I don't have to do it every day, right? But yes, and then to just kind of driving on the streets of the city and seeing all the skyscrapers and the high rises and everything, and then parking and walking amongst it, like that's a whole other experience, you know? And I was like, and I think there's a part of me, Vanessa, that feels as if when I was doing it on a regular basis, maybe I was taking it for granted. I don't know. Like, I don't know that I have that awareness. But when I did it after a period of time, I was like, oh God, I don't miss it every day, but I miss this. Like I miss, and like you said, there are always changes because there's always things being ripped down and things being put back up and and the different, I mean, I could talk for hours about it because there has been a lot of change in this, you know, I'm sure in your city and also in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's just to see the landscape change, right?
Yeah.
As we change and grow and whatnot, the landscape does too on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because I love architecture. Like I just love beautiful things and things that are novel. And, you know, New York City has this delightful sort of like, you know, you get normal building, and then you get this thing with a gargoyle and all kinds of stuff going on. I just kind of have to stop and take it in. And I think the novelty of it's really nice. You know, I delighted in everything yesterday. Oh, the trees are blooming. Central Park is beautiful. There's people playing soccer on the great lawn, you know, just all the hubbub of pedestrians and the skateboarder, like all the things just felt so wonderful. And I realized too, like that was my day to day. It would be very depleting, very depleting. But for a one-off, right? The guy in the kimono who's just like smoking a cigarette, wearing sunglasses, and you're like, okay, cool, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And like the wayfish models outside the hotel, and you're just like, all right, this is scene, okay, like, you know, but to not be like, I am held hostage by this, to know I get to go home to a very quiet, sweet place. It's the best of both worlds, truly.
Yeah.
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 I really feel that.
Mm.
Yeah. So we had quite the weekend.
Yes, not the way people are going to think.
No, not probably not.
No vendors in Vegas or anything.
Nothing like what happens stays there. Nothing like
Right.
that.
No, we had quite a wholesome weekend.
Quite a wholesome weekend. And I would also say there were many things that I was surprised in a good way. Like I was, you know, a lot of things that came up with. Oh, wow. So Vanessa, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but anyway, we're through the weekend where we were part of, it was a Quaker weekend. It was called Friends Conference of Religion and Psychology. And Dr. Stephen Porges and his wife, Susan Clark, is that correct?
Sue Carter, yep.
Carter, were the guest speakers at the meetings. And then Vanessa and I we taught an online class called Authentic Relating Even When It's Hard. And I want to say that just because of the influx of correspondence, and it was mostly email. I was already, because I'm a responder, I responded right away. And I was being the one, because I had created this list, it doesn't even matter. But anyway, I was doing a lot of correspondence and having to repeat myself, and I was handling a lot of stuff. So I was already exhausted before before our class started. And it's okay. I'm just like, I'm like, wow, that's one of the reasons I was started. But we had 16 people. We had 16 participants in our class. And it was so lovely because everyone just seemed to be really enjoying and appreciating being there.
Yeah,
And
really engaged.
And really engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, you know, when you're doing a talk or teaching or whatever, and people are, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not focused, my gosh, distracted. There we go, Heidi, get your thesaurus out. When people are distracted, it's really, I find it, I get distracted. When I notice other people are distracted, and I didn't feel that at all. I felt like everyone was really right with us the whole time, and wanting to participate and had a lot to share and learning a lot. And yeah, so I, you know, when we had our last class on Sunday, I just was feeling really full of gratitude,
yeah,
and love and connectedness and community. And I don't want to say that I didn't have any, I don't know that I had any expectations, just because I was like, I didn't know what to expect.
Same.
I really didn't know what to expect. So I don't think I had any expectations going into it. And that for me probably was the most fun thing. Right? Like these things, these gifts that came out of it that I wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh my God, who knew XYZ or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just, and again, I have shared my gratitude for you, with you, and I want to say it again because it was, yeah, it was so good. We were good together.
We were awesome together.
We really rocked it. I was like, God, we know how to do this.
It speaks volumes to our friendship, and I think the safety we've created and the trust, honestly, for all the snafus of or the organizing of it, I think either one of us might have short-circuited a bit had we not had the safety of each other.
Right.
That's my sense. And I just so appreciate you because, like, wow, you could have run that whole thing on your own, and you wanted support, and I felt so grateful because I was like, tech, no problem. I was like, emails, I don't want to do emails.
I don't remember you. Did you actually say that? Because I don't remember.
No.
Oh.
Like I was quietly blessing you every time I saw an email go out because I was like, I would rather be the live production human.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
Than the person trying to like herd cats and, you know, just, and I'm not saying anybody needed herding,
right.
But you took it upon yourself to over deliver in a really kind and caring way, right? To be that person an hour before each thing, to send the Zoom link, and none of that was expected of you. And yet I used those links to get on.
So did I. And
right.
Yeah.
And I imagine many of our people in our interest group. And the thing I constantly learn with this work is that in just a few hours, we become community because we're going deep. We're not talking about, oh yeah, I'm a corporate executive at so-and-so, and, you know, I have 2 kids and blah, blah, blah. It started deep. We went deeper. The deepening continued due to their, I'm going to say, the great privilege we had of holding them, right? And by the end of it, I was like, I care for each of these people. I'm like freaking emotionally invested now in them being able to rock their relationships. And I'm always a little, I'm going to say a little startled that happens, that people get into my heart like that. But I'm not surprised because the subject matter requires intimacy.
It does. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just felt a debt of gratitude for, like, they trusted us and they trusted each other. How did that happen?
I know. I know.
You
And I
know,
want to say that it almost felt, I feel like the trust to me, the
Mhm.
trust felt flawless. Like it was almost immediate. And I was like, and I didn't, it's in hindsight that I'm like, oh my God, it was pretty quick. Because I didn't feel like this in the moment. I wasn't like, oh my God, they trust us. But as we were going for the weekend, I was like, this is really happening.
Yeah.
This is really happening. And because you and I are being who we are, as we always are, right?
Mhm.
With all of our, who we are as we are with our stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and we are being authentic.
Mhm.
We are modeling that. Therefore, maybe that's part of the safe
The
space that we
safety.
created. Like we were modeling what we are hoping that they get out of it and they also want to do.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like the only thing I held back on was cursing, just out of respect. I was consciously not going to say, like, thanks for giving a shit about your relationships. I
Yeah.
was, thanks for caring about your relationships because you all are Quakers. And I just want to respect that, you know, my natural linguistics might not be appropriate here. And it was evident from like the first round of sharing that people felt safe. And that really touches my heart. I can't explain it, but I know we hold that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I never would have thought, like a year ago, building a business plan, I never would have been like, oh, yeah, interpersonal skills for Quakers. Like, so that just opens me up to like all the possibilities in the universe, because that one came out of nowhere in terms of, do you know what I mean? I
Yes.
couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have put that on my 90-day goals.
Same. Same. Yeah. In a million years.
No,
Truly. Truly.
no.
Yeah.
Which just opened up like everyone needs this work.
Everybody.
Yeah. Because I think I said to you, I was like, gosh, I hope I have something to teach Quakers. I have such reverence for their legacy and their activism. And frankly, that spiritual, I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it like, it's like a firmness within oneself, a certain kind of holding of oneself. There's something there, the stillness, the silence,
So the word that I'm coming up with right now in the moment is steadfastness.
yes, that's the right word, steadfast, right? Where it's like, well, gosh, I think they have the foundational pieces down. Like, I hope I can help add to that.
Yeah.
And it was clear in what both you and I were sharing with them that, because my favorite part was watching these little pens in the corner.
I know.
Scribbling away. I was so happy to see that because I know if something's important to me, I want to write it down.
Me too. Yeah, me too. And we couldn't record. We were asked not to record. And so, of course, we respected that wish and we didn't. Yeah. And, it is what it is. And I'm like, anyway, I'm not going to go, it's unfortunate on some level. And then I think it's whatever happens is meant to be, yeah. So, yeah, I miss them.
I know.
I'm missing their faces. I miss
their sweetness,
their sweetness and their willingness to want more and to want to I'm just like, oh my God. And it just really, what it says to me and what it says to my heart is that humans, really want to be better. They want to know more so they can do better. Not that they're not doing okay in their lives.
Yeah, they're probably all doing pretty well, just given their that steadfastness we're talking about.
Yes. But to want to learn more so they can improve themselves, improve their relationships, huge.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it, for real. Yeah.
It fills my heart with a great deal of hopefulness, right? Because we
Um,
see the stuff we see in the news or through people, we hear things, and it can give me a skewed perception of humanity.
Me too.
But then the work I do is just filled with hope because no one's coming to this stuff unless they're willing, teachable, ready to put pen on paper and see themselves and witness themselves. Um, so yeah, and then us, like there was a lot to do, right, in those sessions, and we were keeping time, and I was handling tech, and you were handling like all the meditations and all the stuff. But there were moments in there where I would be reveling, or marveling at like, you and I are doing this. This was an idea or a thought, possibility. And then specifically, because we didn't start earlier in planning, right, for you
Right.
specifically,
Right.
I was marveling. There was moments where I just kind of catch my breath and marvel at like, Heidi and I are doing this and it seems to be going well.
Let me pinch myself because I need to have a reality check. Seriously. I felt the
It
same
was that good.
Yes.
And I don't know that obviously we love doing the podcast together, and that's one place, right? But it's almost like, my business coach says this, but I think of it in our thing, like, here's our first collaboration in front of a group that we had, I at least know I felt admiration towards. And like, it's sort of like, you see how well the table stands, right? You kick the legs a little and you see whether it's like scheduling snafus or whatever else was, on the logistical end. It's like, oh no, we're good. And we're good with each other. I felt so co-regulated through the snafus as well as through all the sessions.
Yeah. Me
you know
too. And it's interesting because after everyone got off and you and I were just together at the end of a class, and you would, I think there was once or twice, pardon me, where you mentioned a snafu, and I have to tell you, I didn't even notice it because to me, I'm just like,
Nice.
it didn't seem like that big of a deal, and I was like,
Mhm.
we got, there are just so many other
Positives.
terrible things that could happen.
Oh, yes,
Like
yes.
snafus that could happen. I'm like, that was like a blip on the radar, in my opinion.
If that's our biggest problem.
Exactly. Right. What would be a bigger blip is if you and I were in contention of some sort, right? And
Oh
we
my
weren't on the
gosh.
same page. That would be a disaster.
People would feel that too.
People would feel that. We would feel that. I would be like clicking on the leaves. Oh God.
This is where I wonder, like, there's the teachings, right? There's the curriculum and the agenda and the things we prepared, which is important. But I also get very curious about how much of it is the download and the transmission from us.
Same one. I'm not sure what.
I think you alluded to it, like how we're speaking to each other, how we're treating each other, how we're treating them. How much is curriculum and how much is transmission?
Right.
Of being those teachings.
Right.
Right. It's one thing to say, hey, make sure you listen to someone until they feel understood. It's nothing to do it for people.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And then you had, I'm curious, we didn't get totally into it. You had opportunities to join breakout rooms as our support for, when we had an odd number of people in the dyads. What was that like for you to sit in with some of these people?
I really loved it. I did. I felt like, even though it was only 8 or 10 minutes, there was something for me that felt like I felt kind of special. Like I did. I was like, I get to be a student. Even though I'm teaching, I get to be a student for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I get to share a little bit about myself with this person or this person, and they get to learn a little bit more about me. And I get to learn something about them that I wouldn't know otherwise if I was in the breakout room with them and
Mhm.
they weren't sharing, you know? So I loved the opportunity to that we decided, like, you know, since the trio didn't necessarily work first time, and then we're like, let's just, since we're gonna do breakout rooms, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm happy to do it. It was a really it was a yeah, it was special. I
Mm.
loved it. I did.
It has me wondering, like, if you got a sense of what they were experiencing, right? They got some curriculum and then they had to go
Yeah.
practice it, you know? Yeah. And I know for me, there was something about, we shared the curriculum around needs, asking for your needs, right? And then a handful of them came back with this need for more time for the breakout rooms, and
Right.
specifically the triad, which, was sort of a last minute concept.
Yeah.
And I wonder what an example that might also be, that the next time we did breakouts, you stepped in
Mhm.
and the timing was more. And it's like, well, we're wanting you all to feel seen and heard, because that's the whole point of secure relationships.
Right.
We're just going to pivot.
We're gonna make it work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like, if that ruffled everyone's feathers, we don't need to challenge you like that.
No.
So care instructions, like
Care instructions.
they got to try naming their care instructions, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, essentially because we were listening, they got an experience of risking to ask and also receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. I would do that again. There's very few things I would give my weekend up for,
Yeah.
but that was a very special experience. Mm.
Yeah. I thought so too. And I agree. I would do it again.
Hmm.
I can do it again. Yeah.
I sat in on all those plenaries too with my notebook and geeked out. So it was fun to be a student that way,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And I don't know that because I was handling tech and other stuff, it was nice to have those reprieves where everyone went into a breakout room.
Sure. Oh,
It's like,
sure.
oh, I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna do a little yoga, then I'll sit back down,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So thank you for just even volunteering to be because it's like one of us got to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. So, what are we on? What time do we start?
About 15 minutes or so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So when we came on before we started recording, um, you were sensing my whatever was going on for me, right? And I said, and I was like, actually, yes, this is what's going on. And so I want to take full ownership. So you and I met Monday afternoon to plan the
Mm-hmm.
offer, right? To do the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to I'm going to identify my energy, because this is what I was feeling, as it felt a little aggressive. I will say that. I don't know if you sensed it, but and it was because I was scared, because I'm not great at some technology. Some I'm really good at, some I'm not. And I was just
Yeah.
like, do we know that this link is going to work? That kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have all the pieces of it, and we had decided we were going to meet for 30 minutes, and I was like, oh my god. And then you were like, and I forget what word you used, but you were like, in respect of time. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I had even more anxiety coming up, because I'm like, okay, we're out of time, and
Mm-hmm.
and then I think I said to you, I'm okay if this doesn't go out today, because
Mhm.
I was like, I need to just tell my brain that, so I don't go into open
Sure.
anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I'm taking ownership for I'm going to call it aggressive energy, and
Mm.
apologize, really cleanly apologize, and without excuse. That's I need to say that, because it didn't
Thank
feel good to me.
you.
Yeah.
You're so, so kind. And I so appreciate you for saying that. I didn't experience it as aggressive. No, no, I experienced like, I'll speak for myself, that place in me that gets a little spazzed because I can't get it all done. Right. And so what I sensed more than anything was like, when you said, oh, I've never done an Eventbrite, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, swinging between vines like Tarzan, kind of doing this, doing that, doing that, because I have been in there. And I was like, this is actually my oversight, because I could have started with, have you ever done an event through Eventbrite? At which point you'd say, no, I haven't. And I probably would have gone slower. Right. So I just want to own that, like, it's this funny place where I forget to check if we're on the same page. Right. Sort of like the planning had that flavor to it.
Yes, it did.
And then this was like, as soon as you said you had never done an Eventbrite, I was like, oh, well, then let me just get it done so we can get it out today. Because for me, that felt important, even if it was 8 p.m., right? Because it was like
Yeah,
2:30 at the time. But I was like, they're not gonna, like, this is the time that's most fresh. So let's get it out. And I appreciate you for giving yourself that statement, right? If this doesn't get out today, it's okay. If that helps you get resourced, you know what I mean? And it got out, which was great. But thank you for that. I think what I was feeling on my end was like, oh, I'm trying to be expedient and I'm a little bulldozing.
Oh, I hear that. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And simply because I can get into expedience mode. So that's on me. She's like, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. And you're just like, hold on. I've never been in this portal. So I apologize for that, because
thank you for saying that, because I don't know that I would have articulated it that way, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, yes, all of that.
Yeah, I didn't feel aggressiveness. I thought you being self-protective, right? And it's like, well, you wouldn't be self-protective out of the blue.
Right.
So what happened on my side of the street that would have you go, hang on? Right. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was bulldozing, and I do that, with Richard too. It's like, I'm just trying to get in the kitchen and make a shake and get a banana and like whatever. And he's just like, oh. And I'm like, oh, efficiency doesn't always have to be the highest value. I know.
I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm going to agree with you. Well,
because in the kitchen, it's like I could be soft and a little patient. And could I have my shake 30 seconds later and watch my sweet, slow Tai Chi man navigating very peacefully.
Right.
Instead of being like, boom. That's why I say the bulldozing.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. So it's like, let me not get stuck in that gear.
Yeah.
For the sake of being in that gear.
Right. And I'm realizing right now in the moment, wow, this is really fascinating. And so it's good that I had this experience, because I'm also realizing that my reaction is, I was triggered by your behavior. I grew up with that behavior.
Yeah.
Without ownership. Without apology, without ownership, just bulldoze everyone and everything, and just kind of like tunnel vision. And so I literally would just step aside, wait until the bulldozing was bulldozed. And then very timidly I would walk back. I'd be like, okay, is it okay? It was a little, yeah.
Is it safe? Can I get in there?
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for even just beginning this conversation, because I don't know that I would have gotten to the place of recognizing that without you starting the conversation.
Mm,
That for you, it's not just, this is a little bit over my head in this moment, but that it has tendrils in how you grew up,
yeah.
which always has this chart. I mean, I wouldn't say always, but I think often has
I
a
would
bigger
say
charge.
most of the time it's going to have a charge. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for
Yeah.
getting that. Yeah, really, that just feels good.
Yeah. And especially when you say without ownership, right? I think of how many kids had something that felt really janky to them and no one talked about it. No one came back around to repair,
Yeah.
and then how hopefully reparative it is when someone does, go, oh man, I don't want you to feel that way. I certainly don't want you to feel that way if that's how
On
you
my
grew up and that was
right,
painful.
right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It creates, I'm going to say again, the care instructions creates intrinsic like motivation to be like, I don't want to do it that way if that's the impact over there for you.
Right.
That's not that doesn't add up in my worth it equation.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I was so curious when you were like, I need to apologize for. I was like, I can't think of anything that's hanging out there for me
Mm,
that versus what I'm hearing now is, hey, I reacted to something that doesn't feel good to me.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can just own, like, I missed you there,
Mm,
Yeah. And I don't ever want you to feel dropped or like put in that position.
thank you. And I thank you.
And I'll probably still fuck it up.
So will I, right? I'll be messy
Both.
too.
Yeah.
I will be messy too. And my intention is for next time to handle it better.
Hmm.
That's right. Like, I think as humans, that's the best we can do is like we owned it and we had awareness around it. And next time I know I want to do differently. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. That it's like, this is the wonderful part about these kind of conversations, if people can brave them, is you have a better awareness of who you're with.
Completely.
And then it's like, oh yeah, of course I want to speed up and be efficient, but I know that for you, that might create like a threat cue.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. So important. It's so important.
Yeah, it really is. So,
Chat
great.
pack. It's such a wonderful way to like move the energy, I gotta say.
And so, wait, I have to confess something. So what you don't see on camera, right? When I know the chat pack's coming, my little hands go like this because I get so excited. Oh my gosh. I think just the words chat pack just makes me smile. Oh my
They
God.
branded it well because it feels chat pack, right? It
Chat
feels
pack.
so
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
okay.
Okay. I'm not sure. All right. Okay. So what is the strangest thing that's ever happened to you?
Strangest thing. I guess I'll put this up there. I don't know about strangest. Sometimes it's hard to be like, am I getting the strangest? But I think one of the strange things that happened to me was I had like a really bad fever when I was like 12. some kind of fever, and my mom was doing like the cold rags or the ice things or whatever. And at a certain point, I saw my uncle who had passed away, kind of in the corner of the bedroom by the door. And I was sort of in this other corner in my bed. My mom was, trying to do the cold cloths and all the things. And I got so super excited because he was like the most beloved uncle. And he had died young, died at 42, which is my age now, I think. Yeah. I was like, wait, I'm turning 43 soon. And there was a part of me that was deeply compelled to go towards him from that loving place, right? That place that was like, this was my favorite uncle. And I saw my mom's face in that moment where she was like, oh shit. Right? Because in the African culture, like seeing those people is like, it's your time to go kind of a thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Versus like a fever hallucination. And I really do think there was a little cusp there.
Oh, I'm sure there
for
was.
me. I didn't feel like a fevered hallucination. It felt like wow, this is one of those checkpoints.
Yeah.
And I continue to have visions like that, not in a fever. So I don't know if it's part of my intuitiveness when I was a little kid, because I was highly intuitive. It only really happens when I'm very tired and my guard's down, that I can almost like holographically see loved ones around. It never happens when I'm like disenergized and like up and running. But if I'm so tuckered, I feel like they can.
Vanessa, you froze.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just saying when I'm that tuckered, I think they're able to get to me a little easier.
Interesting. Yeah.
How about you? Strange.
I want to reframe something for you.
Okay.
Because we talked about this before.
Uh-oh.
You've said to me, you talked about your intuition, and when you were just sharing, you said I was more intuitive as a child. You're more intuitive now than I think you even realize.
That feels fair.
How about does it feel true?
It's interesting. It's hard to embrace on a certain level.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not entirely, because I think part of my coaching world is my intuition, right? I just think intuition is going to be this big, grand, like angel coming out of the sky sometimes.
No.
So I've put it into this container that's like big and flashy.
Oh, interesting. That's so fascinating. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
But thank you for saying that, because I can definitely hold that. I felt maybe more easily able to tap into it as a kid, and now there's more stuff as an adult.
Yeah. So the weirdest thing, and I don't really think of it as weird, but it's like when I tell people, they're like, what? So okay. I'm going to say this was at least 10 years ago. And I had gone to a psychic medium. My partner and I had gone to a psychic medium, and he had worked with her before. And he was like, I really want you to meet this woman, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And the whole session was about me. Yeah. So anyway, near the end of the session, at this point, my father had passed at this point, probably 3 or 4 years. And I still really missed him. Like I wasn't looking for signs, but I was just like, gosh, I want to connect with him, right? I didn't want to connect with him I didn't want to see him as a ghost. Right. That was too much for me. So anyway, near the end of the hour, she said to me, and I had not revealed that my father had passed. Okay. And she said to me, your father really wants to connect with you. And I was like, what? Because I had not shared that with her, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is how it works. Okay. And I said, and I was just like, no. And then I stepped back and I was like, actually, I don't want to see him as a ghost. If I can see him as something else, you know? And she's like, well, what would be comfortable for you? And I said, well, he was both my parents are avid bird watchers. My father, for sure, like
Mhm.
loves studying birds and whatnot. His favorite bird is a blue jay. Favorite color is blue. He loves blue jays. And she was like, okay, look for a blue jay. I'm like, all right. I kid you not. Less than 24 hours. I'm in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, and we have a window. Anyway, where I was living at the time, at a window. I look out the window, perched on the fence. 3 of them. And I was like, Dad? I said, Dad? And it's not like the bird could hear me because the window was closed and whatnot. And that's when I started talking to him. I just would ask him questions, and I'm still to this day asking, whenever I need his support, he's one of my go-tos. One of my angel team, if you will. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm appreciating that you had, I don't know if it's still going on, but you had that connection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when I'm having a rough day or something, I can call on Debbie. It's like she's so close, and I can hear her voice in my way. And I think it brings up, Yoko Ono said this when John Lennon passed away. They said, do you miss him? And she said, well, the only difference is we used to spend 90% of our time together. Now we spend 100% of our time together.
Oh,
Yeah, big, right? I feel that in my heart too.
I've never heard that.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. I've
Mhm.
never, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I know, I get chills when I think about just her perspective. And I think that's true with our loved ones. Everyone's got different beliefs, but as hard as it is for me to like crunch my brain on ancestors and stuff like that, that's a little harder. The ones I knew and loved seem pretty close.
Yeah.
Even if they're like, quiet and caring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Same. This was great. My gosh.
So great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to anyone watching. I haven't been watching the Facebook page the whole time, but yeah, if you're resonating with anything, if you're curious about what we're doing over here, particularly coming off that conference, reach out or ask a question, or just drop us a line. We would love to hear from you always. Right, Heidi? Like just anytime.
Please feel free to, if you're watching us on Facebook, put something in the comments. If you watch us on YouTube, hit subscribe. Please hit subscribe.
Yeah.
Help people find us, and drop a comment. I mean, you can drop a comment anywhere these days, I think, right? And thank you for joining us and holding space for us and allowing us to do what we're doing.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you, friend. Much love.